Kansas doesn't get talked about much when people compare LLC states. You'll hear Wyoming, you'll hear Delaware, maybe Texas or Florida, but Kansas, not usually. And that's interesting because forming an LLC in Kansas is actually pretty straightforward, and you just need to understand the real costs and the annual requirements before you file. So today, let's break it down. I'm going to walk you through exactly how to start an LLC in Kansas in 2026, what it costs up front, what you'll pay each year, how it works legally, and whether Kansas makes sense for your situation. Hey, I'm Bobby Casey, founder of BusinessAnywhere. I've helped thousands of entrepreneurs, U.S. founders, expats, digital nomads, and non-U.S. residents form LLCs remotely without dealing with confusing state systems or missed compliance deadlines. And I can tell you, Kansas is simple, but there are a couple of details you don't want to overlook. All right, before we jump into filings and fees, let's zoom out for just a second. An LLC, a limited liability company, is designed to create separation between you and your business. If your company runs into debt or legal issues, your personal assets are generally protected. That's the core benefit. From a tax perspective, LLCs are flexible too. A single-member LLC is taxed like a sole proprietorship by default. A multi-member LLC is taxed like a partnership. And if your profits grow, you can elect S-Corp taxation later. So you get liability protection without corporate complexity. Now let's talk about Kansas specifically. The filing fee to form an LLC in Kansas is $160 if you file online. That's the state fee paid to the Kansas Secretary of State. It's not the cheapest in the country, but it's also not extreme. It's right in that middle range. And here's what you need to factor in long term. Kansas requires an annual report, and that report comes with a $50 filing fee each year. So unlike states with no annual fee, Kansas does have an ongoing cost. It's not massive, but it's there, and you need to stay on top of it. All right, so how do you actually form your LLC? It starts with your name. Your LLC name must be distinguishable from other registered businesses in Kansas, and it must include Limited Liability Company, LLC, or LLC at the end. So instead of Sunflower Consulting, it needs to be Sunflower Consulting LLC. Before you get attached to a name, search the Kansas Business Entity Database to make sure it's available. If it's taken, you'll need to adjust it until it's unique. If you're not ready to file yet but want to secure your name, Kansas allows you to reserve it for 120 days for a small fee. That gives you time to finalize the rest of your setup. Once your name is handled, let's talk about your registered agent. Every Kansas LLC must have a registered agent with a physical street address in the state. No P.O. boxes. This is the individual or company responsible for receiving legal documents and official state correspondence on behalf of your business. If you live in Kansas, you can technically serve as your own registered agent, but your address becomes public record, and you must be available during normal business hours. That's why many founders choose a professional registered agent service. It protects your privacy and ensures nothing important gets missed. Now, moving forward to the actual formation. You'll file articles of organization with the Kansas Secretary of State. Kansas allows online filing, which is typically the fastest option. The state filing fee is $160. You'll provide your LLC name, registered agent information, principal office address, and management structure, whether your LLC is member managed or manager managed. Once approved, your LLC is officially active. Now here's something Kansas doesn't legally require, but you absolutely should have: an operating agreement. An operating agreement outlines how your LLC will be run. It defines ownership percentages, decision-making authority, profit distribution, and what happens if a member leaves the business. Even if you're the only member, having this document strengthens your liability protection and makes your business look more legitimate to banks and partners. Next up, your EIN. Your employer identification number comes from the IRS and it's free. Think of it as your business's social security number. You'll need it to open a business bank account, hire employees, and file federal taxes. If you're a U.S. resident with an SSN, you can apply online and receive it quickly. If you're outside the U.S., the process is slightly different but still manageable. Now let's circle back to ongoing compliance. Kansas requires LLCs to file an annual report each year. The filing fee is $50. The report keeps your business information updated with the state, things like your registered agent, principal address, and management structure. If you fail to file your annual report, your LLC can fall out of good standing and potentially be administratively dissolved. So, while $50 isn't huge, forgetting it can create bigger problems. Depending on your business activities, you may also need to register for state taxes or obtain specific licenses. Kansas doesn't require a general statewide business license for every LLC, but certain industries absolutely require permits. If you're selling physical products, you'll likely need to register for sales tax with the Kansas Department of Revenue. Finally, once your LLC is approved and you've obtained your EIN, open a separate business bank account. This step is critical. If you mix personal and business funds, you risk weakening your liability protection. Banks typically ask for your articles of organization, EIN confirmation letter, operating agreement, and valid identification. If you're operating remotely or internationally, you'll also need a legitimate U.S. business address. So let's recap the full picture. To start an LLC in Kansas, choose a unique name and confirm availability. Appoint a registered agent with a Kansas street address. File your articles of organization and pay the $160 state fee. Create an operating agreement. Obtain your EIN. Register for any required taxes or licenses. And every year, file your annual report and pay the $50 fee. That's the roadmap. Kansas is straightforward. Moderate upfront cost, modest annual report fee, clear compliance structure. You can absolutely do it yourself. But if you'd rather skip the paperwork and compliance tracking, we can help. At BusinessAnywhere, we'll form your Kansas LLC for free. You just pay the $160 state fee, and we include your first year of registered agent service at no extra cost. We'll also help with your EIN and send reminders for that annual report so nothing slips through the cracks. So I'm curious, are you forming in Kansas because you live there, or are you comparing it with other Midwest states? Drop a comment and tell me what you're building, and I'll see you in the next one.